Welcome to day 4 of the Maine yarn cruise. I'm getting a little bit of a later start today than expected because, one, I slept in a little bit later, but also Terrell needed some technological help. So I was spending some time trying to figure that out because the reception in Maine's a little bit wonky. I wanted to actually see if the trouble we were having with the reception was a nighttime thing or just a general being in the wilderness thing. And the reception actually did seem a little bit better during the morning. So we got another little increment of what we want to accomplish down. So that's good. It's well worth taking a bit of a late start. I've also rearranged the schedule a little bit today because the original plan was to be driving for 9 hours and I don't feel like doing that today. So I figured out that some of the schedules were interchangeable. So I'm going to be hitting more stores in a closer thing, which will make me feel better. So I'm going to drive off to the first store now. It is a bit cooler outside. It was raining last night. The dog did not like that. The dog did not like the thundering that happened. But it's summertime. Thunderstorms happen. Anyway, we're going to get started. I just came out of Harbor Yarns and it's a cute little place. It's a little bit hidden. I kind of had to get out of the car to look for it. There are actually two stores next to each other. So it's Harbor Yarns and Pine Tree Yarns. And Harbor Yarns was part of the yarn cruise, but Pine Tree Yarns was not. They're both like small one-room things. And I ended up stopping by both because even though one of them wasn't part of the yarn cruise, I was already there. So I might as well, right? In Harbor Yarns, there's a definite color theme, and that theme is indigo. The person who runs Harbor Yarns, Linda, she dyes all the yarn, and her specialty is indigo. So many beautiful shades of blue in there. I got some fun yarns from here. So this big boy here is called the Damn Yarn. This is 65 superwash merino and 35% rayon bamboo. It's very, very soft, very squishy. Can make something nice, but look at that beautiful blue, right? I did accidentally saw this lovely green, but it turns out it was actually part of a kit, and it's like, whoops, we don't want to ruin someone's kit. So I ended up getting a similar skein and a similar color because she doesn't have dye lots. She dyes them individually. So this was the yarn. This is called Blue Lagoon. It's 70% baby alpaca and 30% silk. This was a cute little colorway. It's a bit rougher than the others, but it's called Pemaquid. It's just 100% wool. But look at those colors. They're stunning, right? So stunning. This one right here, I was pretty excited when I saw it. This one is a new texture I haven't seen yet. This is silk and seaweed. Seaweed, right? I've been wondering about what it'd be like to work with seaweed yarn. That's pretty cool. And she also gave me a pattern. It turns out that this yarn right here came with a free pattern. So I'm gonna use the pattern for that. So then when I went across to Pine Tree Yarns has a little bit more color variety, it's a little bit more rainbow, and it's more the commercial yarn. Definitely in Harbor Yarns, with the exception of the Jagger Spun, which is another independent dyer, it was pretty much just the Harbor Yarn brand, which is perfectly fine because it was stunning yarn. But Pine Tree was where you could see your Cascade and your Malbrigo and a couple of the other brands. But I did see some brands I hadn't seen yet and some textures I haven't really seen yet. So there are some yarns that are just packaged under this. There are some yarns that are hand dyed. Apparently the owner of this store goes up to Canada sometimes and gets stuff done. Linda took care of me in both stores. Yeah, this is a silk wool mix. Look at that stunning purple, right? I also saw this wool nylon mix specialty yarn. It's from Belfast Mini Mills in Prince Edward Island, which is actually a far bit away, although it might be somewhat close to here. I know Prince Edward Island is in Canada. I forget what side of the country it's on. I remember when I found out, I was surprised. Yeah, I remember it from Anne of Green Gables. And then this is some exquisite hand-dyed silk. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So pretty. This right here is a cotton, I believe. Oh, merino and linen. This is merino and linen. It's a brand I haven't seen before, Lonet. This has been here a while. Look at that label. And it says that it was a product of South Africa. So there's another brand I hadn't seen before. It's Galler Yarns. It's an Inca Eco Organic Cotton. This right here is a Briggs Little. I haven't really seen Briggs before. This one's really rough though. This would be good for more of like a something you know is going to get a lot of wear and tear, but definitely like an outer layer. Oh, and this is another hand-dyed silk from Mary Gavin Yarns. Oh yeah, silk and bamboo. This thing is so soft. And also, I mean, look at those colors. So pretty, right? And then I got some roving here. So they had some roving from Canada. This was made in Canada? Yeah, St. John, New Brunswick, so Canada. And I mean, look at that. I saw this, I was debating getting another color, but then I saw this and it's like, this is my color scheme. So there's that yarn. And that's what I got at the 2 yarns stores. But yeah, this is a nice little town. It's a nice little place. I'm gonna probably eat a little something because I'm starting to get hungry again, and then we're gonna head on to the next stop. I came out of the Cashmere Goat, and it's a very nice shop. They got this adorable building in this adorable little town. And they have plenty of yarn. So they did have a lot of sectioned off for Maine yarns. The one that I didn't see before, like in other stores, was this Doorman's yarn. I'm gonna put a caption right here for exactly what the yarn is, but this was spun at a farm nearby. And I mean, this is 100% wool. It's a very, very nice yarn. Another brand that I'd never seen before was Jody Long. This is a summer cotton tweed right here. And then I also saw this carnival yarn. This was an impulse buy. This is so soft. Yeah, it's completely merino wool. I'm seeing a lot of merino wool, honestly, throughout the different shops. And then there actually wasn't a lot of cashmere in the shop. When I did ask the owner about it, she said she didn't want to fill it up completely with cashmere. But I did find this one cashmere from, I do not know how to pronounce it, as Kyrgyz. But isn't this color stunning? Like, I don't usually go for like a brownie orange like this. Well, I love orange, but it has a definite brown tone to it. Yeah. And then I saw this yarn. I think I might have gotten this brand in a different store. I'm not sure. It's Mirasol. And this is alpaca, linen, and viscose from bamboo, and also micro tweed. I think this reminded me of a yarn that I used in the past. Like the very first time I attempted to crochet an amigurumi, I used this type of yarn. I never finished that amigurumi. The amigurumi is now doomed to have 2 legs for eternity instead of 4. It was a small dog, although it doesn't look enough like a dog because my mom sometimes calls it a bear. And then I got some books as well. So I saw this Mini Knitted Cosmos book, which I am a big fan of Star Trek and very much things like that, and also just like space related stuff, so it'd be cool to make stuff related to that. And I saw this book of essays called Unraveling by Peggy Orenstein. If I'm right about this, I think I've read something of Peggy Orenstein's before. I think it was called Cinderella Ate My Daughter. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. Or if I'm right, I'm probably going to put a caption down there anyway. But this is talking about like the shearing of the sheep and things like that, which is pretty nice. And then I also got some tools. I got a shawl pin. They had a variety of shawl pins, and a lot of them were just like overworked wood and whatnot. This was just a very nice looking shawl pin, and I mean, you can see how my sweater is hanging off of me today, right? Like, it needs something to hold it together, and usually I have a stitch marker that holds it together, but I left that at home. I didn't bring it with me on this trip. Beep. And then I also got this teal row counter. Is inside here. I actually have a counter very similar to this. It's in pink that I use to keep track, but this one's in mint green, which is my favorite color, so it's like I can always use another counter, right? This right here is a folding pair of rainbow scissors. I've had 2 different pairs of folding scissors in the past, and I'm not sure if I still have them both. I know I definitely have one of them somewhere, but they're so cool, and like it's useful to have folding scissors because you're easier to bring them places where they don't allow sharp blades. Although I also do have another thing, but it was just a fun impulse buy. And then the last thing I got was these mindful little blocking pins. I got the blocking boards a couple days ago. I might as well, these are pins in a color that I like, and that way I have no excuse for not blocking a test pattern that I have coming up that is going to need to be blocked. One of the employees, Kristen, was very, very helpful. When she saw my arms full of stuff, she offered to give me a basket so that way I could hold it. And I did end up using Like, I didn't accept the basket at first, but then I ended up using it because when she realized I was on the Maine yarn cruise, she had me fill out some raffle tickets, and it's a lot easier to write when you're not holding things. Yeah. She also stamped my passport, and it turns out that Kristen herself is a designer. Like, she designed the sweater that she was wearing when I saw her, and it was very impressive. It had lots of overlapping cables. I forget her last name, I'm sorry about that. Also, I did end up asking, like, why is it called the Cashmere Goat? And it turns out that the current owner is not the original owner of the store. The original owners were going to close in 2020 with the pandemic, and she ended up buying it from them to keep it in business, and she was going to change the name, but then people liked the name so much that she decided to keep it. I mean, it's a good name. It's a very memorable name. So actually, after I left the store, I stopped by a cafe called Soup. I ended up having like a muffin and some cucumber lemonade because cafes are good for having public bathrooms provided you buy some food from them. Which was what I needed. I needed a bathroom. But also, like, one of the fun things about the Cashmere Goat was there was actually someone there who was learning how to knit. I always enjoy, like, seeing people learning how to do things, you know? Because it doesn't matter if there's like a million or so knitters in the world, or millions of knitters, or millions of crocheters. We can always use more, right? I just came out of the Maine alpaca experience. This store is a little bit different than the other stores on the cruise because there's actually 2 different locations, and one of the locations has the farm and one of the locations is just a store. So the one I'm at right now is just the store because it was really close to the other stores that I was at. Although, if time permits today, I hope to stop by the farm. But the way it works, you only need to stop by one of their 2 locations to get checked off for the yarn cruise. So even if I don't make it to the farm part, I'll still have this one marked off the yarn cruise section. This store is basically, if you are a fan of alpacas, this is your home. There is a very small selection of yarn, but pretty much all the yarn that's available is alpaca based. It's more like the other stores that I was visiting when I was in Ireland, like one of the woolen stores where there are like knitted cardigans and there are socks and there are alpaca themed items and there are felted toys. So I'm going to show you what I got. So I got this yarn, alpaca pearl. This is the yarn that is particular to this store. And this is so soft. So soft. It's 100% alpaca. And then this right here is another brand of alpaca yarn. It's Lana Art Alpaca, and this is also the chunkier yarn, and this is also super soft. It says it's perfect for a hand painting. Dye it perfectly to your liking. At this moment in time, I have been told about a dyeing class that I can go for, and I'm leaning towards trying to go to it. So if that's the case, I've got something to dye now, right? There's this other alpaca themed yarn. Alpaca Yarn Company. So I thought that this was actually the Alpaca Yarn Company here, but it's not. It's a different company altogether. This right here is Journey Tweed, and this is Knit Picks. This is also alpaca. I mean, look at that colorway. So I'm going to wrap this back up because the cashier, Tori, was very nice and wrapped everything up in this lovely pale blue tissue paper, and I want to make sure it goes back in very nicely. So I also got this other alpaca yarn. So this is Mother Nature's Finest Fiber Unicorn Knitters yarn. Look at that colorway. I mean, if you watch enough of my videos by now, you know this is me. Yeah. So soft. It's like such vibrant colors too. I also got some socks. These look like good quality socks, honestly. I hope they are my size. If the label is correct, they should be. But I am in a process where I have worn through a lot of my socks and I need to replace them. So I got some ankle socks, this nice pinkish color. And I also got these longer socks in purple. And then I got one more thing. As it turns out, I actually got 2 more things. The yarn was spread out between the tissue paper. This is another brand of yarn I haven't seen yet. This is Cloudborn, I think it's called. Cloudborn, but look at that. Yeah, Cloudborn Alpaca Merino Sport Island Lilacs. I mean, such pretty colors. Oh my gosh. Then here, this one's going to be a gift. This one I'm bringing back for my godmother, so she'll get a kick out of that. This is like the fluffiest alpaca. This is so fluffy. And it's also her favorite color. That was the Maine alpaca experience. So at this point, I'm going to see I think the other store that is not the other alpaca store is going to close earlier, so I may head to that first. This was a nice little shop, yeah. I just came out of Heavenly Yarns, and it's on a very busy little street. It's like right in the town center. The traffic inside of it reflected that. It was a very bustling little shop. A lot of these shops I've been in, sometimes I've been the only person in the shop. But there was lots of people here. And I managed to find some lovely yarns here. I ended up getting some of the Wonderland yarns. I can find Wonderland yarns at home, but they do work up very nicely. So this one is called Finding a Hidden Field of Flowers. So you can see the green with like the variegated speckledy thing. And this is a very interesting idea. I kind of want to play with it a little bit. And here's the other Mad Hatter yarn, Rainy Day Rainbow. So it's like rainbow, but it's also gray. They had a local yarn nearby. This was from a Wool in the Woods, Jackson, Maine. This was spun there. This is a Romney alpaca yarn. Apparently this one came from Patrick. This is apparently new to the country. This is Luna. This is Blue Sapphire. This was made in India. Like, isn't that color stunning? Oh my gosh. This was also new to the country. This was made in Peru. It's Riddy. This is a little bit rougher when it comes to the material, but this colorway was absolutely gorgeous. And then they had some sale yarns too. So, well, this one was not a sale yarn. I have seen this brand in New Jersey, but only at one store. I have been seeing this brand a lot more up here. It's Great Adirondack Yarns. Like, when I saw the label the very first time, it was like, was this even a real company? It kind of gave the impression of this was something that someone just like printed and sold, but apparently it's a real company because I keep seeing it. And the cotton feels very, very nice. Then this here was a sale yarn. This is Specionite. It's 100% cotton and it's so squishy and it's like such a vibrant color. This was in their sale bin. And then these other four, it's like sometimes you see a yarn and you know exactly why it's in the sale bin. This is Eyelash yarn. It is not an easy yarn to work with. This yarn was like all the rage when I was like 10 years old, when it first came out. It is nearly impossible to crochet with. It is very difficult to knit with because you can't really see the stitches, but if you like the effect, it gives a nice effect. But a lot of people have been steering away from this yarn recently. And same with these guys. Like, this is another, like, this one's called Streamers, and this one's called Starlight. You see, it's like very furry, very fuzzy, gives a weird effect. I can make something weird with it. It's all good. And then I also have this beach one. And finally I got this book. It's like a knitting notes. It's a knitting book that it's more like a notebook where you can write knitting designs, and honestly, I have stuff I need to write down. It seems like it's more just for the knitter, not necessarily a designer, but I'm probably going to be using it for designing purposes. You can see like two different employees in the store. They were Helen and Ken, and Helen was walking around. She was talking with all the different customers, and like Ken offered to actually like hold my stuff, but I was about to just dump it down anyway to be sold. And then Helen did recommend that I go to State Park near Lakeside Stitches, which is a store that I'm going to be going to a little bit later on the yarn cruise. Very friendly conversation. We did have some trouble with my card, but hey, technology's technology. It's a very fickle thing. They were both very, very friendly. And that was Heavenly Yarns. It was a nice little store. Ken did mention that I managed to find pretty much every yarn that did not have a barcode. I'm gonna take track of where I am time-wise and whatnot, because this is officially my last store, but if I have enough time to spend at the other Maine alpaca experience, I'm gonna do that. I'm at the Northern Solstice Alpaca Farm, which is the other half of the Maine alpaca experience. To be fair, if you like shopping, the first store I went to was a nice store to get stuff at. But if you love alpacas, like if you want to see actual alpacas, this is the location to come to. When I came here, like I drove in, it's like I was greeted by Bailey right away, and she's like, she saw I had my yarn cruise bag. It's like, well, the gift store's over there, but if you want to see the alpacas, I can take you over here. And I was like, yes, I just want to see the alpacas. She started explaining to me all about the different parts of alpacas. So I didn't realize that alpacas are hypoallergenic. It turns out that they don't have wool, they have hair. And there is the air pockets in the hair are completely encased, so they can't trap moisture, which means alpaca can still keep you warm even when it's wet. And it doesn't have any lanolin, which it won't cause any allergies. And also, they're very, very clean. They only have to shear them once a year, which they do about mid-May. With that, they don't have to groom them. They don't really have to brush through them every so often. Alpacas did not exist naturally at first. They are a combination of a llama and a vicuna, because the llama is the big animal that can grow the long hair, while vicuna has a really, really soft silk, a really, really soft fur. So by combining the two of them together, they're able to make them work. Like, they explain different parts about the llama, like, the alpaca, like, some of them have like little tufts of hair right at the cheek. So if it's more pronounced, they'll actually give them the haircut that gives them like that curved shape. But if they don't have it, they will just shave it down. And also genetically, any color llama can give birth to any color llama. So you can't necessarily breed two black llama. Why am I calling them llamas? They're alpacas. I'm at the alpaca place. Basically, like, you can't just breed two black alpacas together to get a black alpaca, which is the rarest color of alpaca, actually. Like, they will produce any other color. Bailey ended up taking me into the female pen, and alpacas don't like to be touched, pretty much. So the thing was, don't pet them unless they want it. And there was one alpaca, Karina, who just wanted all their pets. So I spent a good 5 minutes just like scratching her behind her ears and like scratching the top of her head. And I got a picture with Karina as well. There's another one, like Celebration, who actually came up to me. Celebration did not want to be petted, but Celebration was curious enough. Like Bailey said, that's the most interest she's seen Celebration give another person. It's around breeding season too. The alpacas don't necessarily have a set breeding season, but they realize that the breeding happens, so some of them are a bit amorous, and so they're trying to hump each other. I saw like a long protracted 3 llama humping situation, and it was like, yeah, you enjoy yourself, ladies. They ended up separating the males from the ladies. Oh yeah, alpacas are also pretty clean too. They use communal bathrooms, which is helpful. And they only eat like 2% of their body weight per day. Like, they're about 200 pounds or so. So just only 4 to 5 pounds of food just to keep an alpaca. Like as Bailey was saying, like, this is actually like one of the most sustainable methods of farming for fiber that we have available. Alpacas are only raised for their fur. They are not raised for meat. This was a nice place to stop at. Like a nice way to end the day of stores that I stopped at. And I'm very glad I decided to stop by both, because I could actually compare the 2 different gift shops and see what was different, what was the same. I didn't buy too much here because I'd already bought a lot at the other alpaca one, but I had forgotten something. And while I didn't see the exact thing I had forgotten, I did see the same product, so I got the product. They sell alpaca robing. So this color is called Cinnamon, and this color is Champagne. Oh, I didn't realize I picked up the Champagne. And then they also had some other of the gray. They had some gray yarn here of the alpacas that are here. So this one's Rain Cloud. And I got the very last alpaca bag. Isn't that cute? So I did good work today. I think I'm gonna eat the banana that I have with me, and then I'm gonna head back to where I'm staying. I am back to where I'm staying for the night. The really big plus about today was the fact that this is the closest that the stores have been together, like geographically. So I was actually able to get from place to place in less than a half hour for a couple of the places. That is huge, because on average it's been taking me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to go from store to store. Maine is a really big state. And I spent a lot of time in like some little like beachside towns today. It was very adorable. they're very nice places, and because it was a Saturday, it was very bustling because lots of people were off. Some of the street names were fun too. Like I literally saw a street named after John Deere. I think there may be a John Deere near here. Also, I saw this street, it was called Bay View, and it was accurate. When I was driving down to turn onto Bay View, I got a full-on view of the bay, framed by some trees, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I did not get a picture of it because I was driving, and we don't touch our phone when we drive. Overall, the countryside is absolutely beautiful. The only thing that spoils the countryside is when I see political banners for a politician I do not like. Fortunately, there's less of those banners than there were in 2020. But when I see those signs, I know I am not in a safe spot. I feel a lot more safe when I see pride signs. I think I'm over the halfway point at this point. I think there are 24 stores, and I hit over 50. Like, I know at some point I counted today when I was in the middle, and I was over 15 at that point. And that means that I'm over the halfway point. I'm not going to be going on the yarn cruise tomorrow because tomorrow's Sunday, and a lot of the stores are closed. And while there are stores that are open on a Sunday, they're not near each other geographically. So Terrell's going to take me up to visit with her sister and her nephews tomorrow. And that's going to be a nice little adventure. That's something that I haven't had the chance to do yet since, like, in all the times that I've been coming to this place. But yeah, today was a good day. I mean, to be fair, anytime you get to see farm animals and not just representation of farm animals is usually a good day. Yeah, I'm realizing I'm probably a little bit dehydrated, so I'm going to go get a Gatorade. And I will see you on the next installment.
Very little.